Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Women Changing the World Press. Before we begin, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the people of Mamu country in North Queensland. And I'd also like to pay my respects to traditional owners and elders past and present right across Australia and the Torres Strait. Well, I'm so excited to be celebrating the launch of our latest book, Resilience and Reinvention. And to help celebrate today, we have some of our authors of this book joining us. So I'm so honored to have them here and I'm delighted to introduce them to you. So please join me in welcoming our first guest, Karen Rosner.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Karen. For those who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and also the work that you do.
Thank you. Yes, I am Karen Rosner. I'm originally from Massachusetts in the U.S. I currently live in Mesa, Arizona, and I am a medical debt specialist, which means that I help people get out of medical debt. I reduce or eliminate their debt. And back in 2025, I saved people about $87,000 in their medical debt. And here in the US, that's a lot of money and that's a lot of accomplishment. And the reason I got into this is I have been a social worker for 38 years, but I've also been in the medical field professionally and personally all of my life. I was born with a very serious heart condition and then ended up with having multiple surgeries, 6 open heart surgeries actually, and a slew of pacemakers, cardiac death, and the whole 9 yards. And then 20 years ago, I got a heart transplant. And it's been good ever since. And I've got myself, after the transplant, I was able to get myself out of $50,000 of medical debt after my divorce. And that's why I'm helping people get out of their medical debt and relieve their stress and strains from medical debt.
Incredible, Karen. Incredible work that you're doing and helping so many people. Now, your chapter was called They Told Me I Couldn't, So I Did. I just love that title. Can you tell us a bit about why you chose this title for your chapter?
It is a playoff of one of my favorite quotes by Jimmy Butler. It's "They told me I couldn't, that's why I did." And the reason I do that and was called that is because they told my parents that I wouldn't survive my first birthday. In September, I will be celebrating my 63rd birthday. After I was 12 years old, I had an open heart surgery. They told my parents that I wouldn't survive after 12 hours after the surgery. And it's been 1975 and it's more than 12 hours. My 12 hours aren't up yet. And then they told me I could not have a child. I have a 36-year-old son. So that's why I named it. And, I had a transplant and they told me I couldn't do these things and I've done them. And that's the way I live my life. They tell me I can't, I do it.
That's incredible. Yeah, what an incredible story. But it really shows your determination and your mindset. So have you always had that mindset or is this something that's developed over time?
I've had it ever since I was a child. And even when I was younger with the doctors, and they wanted me to speak to other children that are going through similar things because of my attitude. And my mother once told me I was too stubborn to die. So, and I guess I am, but I'm stubborn, and I told her I learned from the best, her, and it's just one of those traits that I was born with, and I bring it on to my work because people don't tell me I can't do this for my patients, my clients, because I do. And if they tell me no, I go to the next level and to the next level until I get a yes. And that's what, and I want to help people, and that's what I do. And that's how I help them, by not taking no for an answer.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You know, so many women are told that they're too much or they're not ready or they're not capable. Why do you think it's so important for women to stop waiting for permission from someone else and just get out there and do it themselves?
I live life to the fullest, and that's what every woman should do. And I was just having this discussion earlier today with a group of women, is that when we're younger, we are, like we're teenagers and we're doing what the friends want us to do. Or when we're in a relationship and married and have children, we're doing what the family needs. And now it's our time, and going out and doing what you want to do and what you feel you're having fun with, go out and do it. You don't know, we're not promised tomorrow. So live life to the fullest.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Looking back now, was there a particular challenge or a setback that actually ended up shaping your path in a positive way?
Yes and no. I mean, because of my health issues, when my transplant and beyond, before, not being able to do what other children were doing. I couldn't run around like my siblings. I'm one of 8 children. I'm the seventh of 8 children. And my brothers and sister were running around. If I ran around 2 minutes, I was dead tired, and I couldn't do what my children, my friends were doing. And I just liked, and that's what turned me around. I was determined to be like my siblings, especially my sister. She's 2 years younger than me. And it was like Debbie was my role model, that if she could do it, I could do it, because I'm older and I'm supposed to be able to do it. And that's how I lived my life. And that's where I'm in today. That's why I started the business. And I even wrote a book on my own. It's called My 12 Hours Aren't Up Yet. And it was published in 2023, July of 2023. So that I just live life to the fullest.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And I love that instead of like, you could have taken the path of being, depressed because everybody else is out having fun, but instead you turned that into determination because you wanted to be like your sister and out there running around with the other kids. I love that. And you said that you've published your own book in 2023. Can you tell us about what the writing experience was like for you? Did you find it difficult sharing such personal and vulnerable stories, or did you find it a healing process, or was it a bit of both? And were there any unexpected outcomes of that whole journey?
It was a bit of both, because, I was reliving my childhood, and I was going through my medical records for the first couple of chapters, because I was a young kid. My first open heart surgery was at 9 weeks old. And so it's going through that, going through the medical records, and really, it was an eye opener of what I've actually done and been through. And just remembering things, because from my childhood, when I was in middle school, 6th and 7th grade, I had a body cast on because I had scoliosis and I had to have back surgery. And I was called different because I had a body cast, and I had to get out of class early. And, people made fun of me because I had to take the short bus, or the smaller bus, back and forth to school. So, and that got to me, and I'm going through that when I was writing my book. And then there was humorous things in there, like me and a little boy escaping our little room, go while we were in the hospital, to run away to the playroom. And when the nurse saw us, and I'm like, well, he put my crib down and she wanted to come. So we were experiencing putting our friends under the bus, per se. And so I learned a lot growing up in a hospital, pretty much. And I learned a lot when writing the book, because it brought it close to me. And, you know, and my mother wasn't around when I was writing this book. She passed away. So it would have been nice if she could share some of the stories that she remembered.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And I think that that writing process, especially when you're looking back on your childhood and all those things that happened so long ago, can bring up so many emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Karen, I'd love to ask you now, what advice would you have for somebody who is going through really challenging times at the moment? Maybe they're facing a health diagnosis or some kind of challenge. What advice do you have for them?
To reach out to somebody and to get help, talk to somebody. And that's where, and don't go through the process alone, the journey alone. I didn't. I had my doctors, I had the nurses, I had my sister, I had my family, and as I got older, I had friends. And my friends were great during, the true friends were great during my school years. And then as adult, they people understood what I was going through and what I was in. When I had the transplant, people were there for me and they gathered. So my number one advice is to find somebody that will get you through there. If you have medical bills, I'm here. I'll get you through it and we'll go through the journey together and we'll make it together. And like Jimmy's butler says, they told me I couldn't. That's why I did. And you could too.
I love that. I love that advice. Yeah, it's always so important to reach out to the people around us and ask for help when we're going through something tough. Well, thank you so much, Karen. It's been just such a delight chatting with you today. And thank you so much for sharing your chapter with us in Resilience and Reinvention.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. We'll go to our next author now. Please join me in welcoming Melanie. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Peace. How are you?
I'm really good. Now, Melanie, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Yep, sure. I'm Melanie Vairavanathan. I am a family lawyer. I am also the founder and principal lawyer of Melmark Law in Melbourne. I'm also a mother to my beautiful 2-year-old son, Malachi. I was born in Sri Lanka and I moved to Australia at 17 on a scholarship to study law. Today, I lead a family law practice where we help families navigate complex parenting and property matters. I am also the co-founder of the Virtual Office, which is a Sri Lanka-based legal support business supporting firms globally. Which has allowed me to really connect both my worlds while creating opportunities for women. Yeah, that's me.
Amazing. So your title of your chapter is Between Two Worlds. Can you tell us why
Yes.
you chose this title for your chapter?
I chose Between Two Worlds because it really reflects my personal journey and the deeper themes of resilience and reinvention. I was born in Sri Lanka and I moved to Australia at 17 on my own. So in many ways, I have been living between two worlds, two countries, two cultures, and two completely different versions of myself, which I talk about in the book. There was, that young girl trying to navigate survival, uncertainty, starting over. And then there is, the woman who eventually built her own law firm and her career in Australia. But also, I think the title resonates beyond just my story. In family law, which is the area that I work in, I work with people every day who are living between two worlds themselves because, the life that they had and that the life they're trying to build after separation, trauma. So for me, I think that really captures that transition and identity and resilience. Yeah, that's why I chose that title.
Yes, I love that. I love that it crosses across a number of different areas. And in your journey, did you ever feel pressure to fit into one world more than the other? And how did that shape your sense of who you are today?
Absolutely it did, because especially in my early years, when I first came here, I was on my own in a completely different country, and there was obviously that pressure where, like you feel like your people sort of see you before, they hear you, and there was you felt like, well, there was a lot of times that I felt like I didn't belong in certain rooms. So there was that pressure to try and fit into this world, but then there was also the other part of me, which was, the life and the person that I had left behind. But I think over time, the experiences that I had actually just helped me become this version of me, which has the best of my old self and the person that I've become now. And yeah, it was a transition, but I did get there.
I love that. Yes, I love that. So tell me about writing this chapter. How was this for you? Did you find it healing? Was it emotional? Tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I needed to write this chapter to just articulate everything that's happened, and how I got here. It definitely was more healing than I thought it would ever be. It was therapeutic. It's almost like it was almost having closure of, the things that the journey, and just to sort of put it all down in writing, and just reading that story, and reading that last, just when I approved the chapter for printing, and reading that, I just I had a bit of a cry. But it was a real experience that I really enjoyed writing this chapter.
I love that. I love that you found it so healing as well. Looking
Yeah.
back now, do you see that experience of being between two worlds as a challenge or a strength or a bit of both?
um Absolutely a strength, because I think I have something um that's unique, which is that I've got different perspectives, and uh, I think the experiences that I had previously have also shaped me, and that lived experience, to understand that I understand sometimes the cultural references, and I just in terms of their relationships, if someone's in sort of an abusive relationship, I understand when they pause. It's that the lived experience really has like, it has given me a lot of clarity and strength, and almost an advantage, in that I get a lot of things that sometimes other people may not get, which really helps me be there for people and help them in their most difficult times in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you hope that readers take away from your story about identity, belonging, and embracing all the parts of who we are?
Um, I think what I'd say is that you just need to remember that, just embrace the journey. Um, it's not, sometimes, life is not easy, but just even in the moments I feel uncertain or uncomfortable or unfair, it will, I promise you, it will shape you more than you ever know. And what sometimes can feel like setbacks, that will become the foundation of your authority. You just need to show up every day. Just be the best version of yourself, and 100% you will make it, and you will get to where you want to be.
I love that. Now, the definition of resilience, some people think that it's, pushing through and just toughening up and doing whatever it takes. But what's your definition of resilience? What does resilience look like for you?
when when you're no longer willing to stay where you're placed, right? And when you're, regardless of what life throws your way, the the fact that you could take that and build something from it, um, that, I think, to me, that's what resilience is.
Thank you so much, Melanie, for sharing your story with us in resilience and reinvention. And thank you for being here and chatting with us today. I've really enjoyed catching up with you.
Thank you so much for having me on this. It's such a great experience, Peace.
Thanks, Melanie. I'd now like to welcome our next guest to join me on stage. Please come along, Khadija.
Hi, Peace. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here. Now, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Khadija. Born in South Africa, migrated to Australia about just over 20 years ago. Um, I'm an audiologist by training, and I believe in empowerment through connection. And so a lot of the work that I do in audiology and in community, it kind of works around that belief of mine. And I've also got 2 daughters. Yeah.
Beautiful. So your chapter is called Becoming Her. Can you tell us why you chose this title for your chapter?
So when I wrote the chapter, I kind of wrote it as a letter to my 16-year-old self. And as a young girl, I was always very quiet. I'd actively listen to people, but I wouldn't always participate in a lot of conversations. And standing in front of a classroom, like even just to deliver a 2-minute speech, I would be completely terrified. I hated public speaking. I wanted the earth just to open and swallow me whole and just be done with the whole experience. And so I think I chose the title "Becoming Her, the Woman Who Speaks," because I kind of write about that particular aspect of my life where I've changed from, moving beyond that fear and getting up and speaking in front of people.
I love that. Now, looking back over your journey, do you think becoming yourself was more about discovering who you already were or
Yeah.
letting go of who you thought you had to be?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think I'd lean more towards the first one. I think that, sometimes life experiences, like kind of like what the other ladies have already spoken about, life experiences kind of shape who you are and kind of provide you with that kind of confidence. So I think, that it was that little voice was probably always sitting inside of me. I just kind of needed to find the avenue. I needed to find the right kind of purpose. So I think when I was growing up as a young child, I probably feared the whole concept around public speaking because I didn't want the attention to be on me. But I think what I found was the confidence came when the focus wasn't on me, when the focus was more around the message that I was trying to deliver, about trying to be a voice for those who didn't have one, or to kind of acknowledge and recognize my privileges and use that to be able to speak or empower those who didn't. So I think that's where it kind of stemmed from.
I love the reframe of that. I think that many women struggle with self-confidence and self-worth at different stages of life. What helped you begin stepping more fully into yourself?
I think getting myself into environments and into situations where I had to move beyond my comfort zone. I think that's what it was all about. So getting into environments. So, like for example, when I had migrated, I had quite an easy transition, but I found other women from multicultural backgrounds who didn't. And so starting up an organization that kind of assisted with integration and assimilation and all of those types of things and running events. I was the president. And so, the speaking role kind of fell on me. So it was something that I had to do. So I think that's pretty much how I've done it. I've just kind of always stepped into situations that kind of stretches me. that just kind of moves me beyond what I consider comfortable, because I find for me that's the best way for me to grow.
That's beautiful. And I love how much support you give to others. What motivated you to start reaching out to other women in your community? Was there a particular moment or a person or an experience that
I
made you
think
want to
just,
do that?
yeah, so I think like with the migrant experience, for example, it was just around, just knowing that other women were really having a difficult time accessing work, for example, in Australia because their qualifications were not recognized, or because of language barriers, or because they just didn't quite understand the whole Australian work culture, which was different to what they had been used to. And so I think it was more around that. And then I think with regards to running a business, I believe quite strongly in the concept of Ubuntu, which you are familiar with, and around paying it forward. And when I started my business, I didn't have the support systems in place initially. It was something that I had built. And I received a lot of support from people within networking groups. And for me, it just becomes a way of paying it forward, like just being able to be there for other women who've been there in a similar situation to me. And it doesn't matter whether they from multicultural backgrounds or Australian, or whether it's men or women in business. It just I've been supported in the past, and I want to be able to just pay that forward and help others up as well.
No, I really love that. That's so beautiful. If a woman was reading your chapter and she feels like she's in that space where she's still figuring herself out, or
Yeah,
maybe a migrant woman who's new to Australia,
yeah.
what would you want her to know about the process of becoming?
I think it's really important to know that you don't have to be doing it by yourself. You know, often we get into a country perhaps like Australia when there's so much focus around the individual or around individualism and all of those types of things. And I really think that if you kind of bring the concept of a village back in with us and trying to find that kind of balance where you're not losing yourself in the whole village concept, but you can kind of really develop your sense of individualism, of identity, of confidence, of all of those types of things within that kind of village concept where you can rely on other people and reach out and ask for that kind of support. So I think that would really be my advice. Like other people have gone through the same thing. Like you don't have to be reinventing the wheel all by yourself. It's not something you have to do by yourself. Um, and there are amazing people that you come across along your journey. That's what I found as well. And people who are out there who genuinely want to be able to just support other people and just be there for them.
That's such wonderful advice. Absolutely. So, what about your definition of resilience? What do you think resilience is? And has this definition changed for you over time?
Absolutely, it has. Yeah. So I think growing up, so I grew up in South Africa during the apartheid era. And I think for me at the time, resilience was around endurance and around grit, and having both of them. Um, and, something that you develop, obviously. But I think now I kind of see resilience as a reset and recalibration. And I think the reason I kind of wrote this around this particular theme around finding voice and around the fear of public speaking is because people sometimes think that you only develop resilience if you've gone through like really big life changes, like it happens when you've gone through like through trauma or through migration or through loss or, all of those types of big life events, when it really can just be the small things too, smaller challenges, I guess, if you were going to be comparing them. And so I think for me, it's all about reset and recalibration. So you kind of think, okay, this is the situation I'm facing right now. What do I need to do now to reset, to kind of get my mindset into overcoming? So yeah, so my definition of resilience has changed over the years.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Khadija. It's been wonderful having you as part of Resilience and Reinvention. And I've loved having a chat with you today as well.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me as part of the anthology. It's been a great experience.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. This concludes our session for today, but our online festival continues for the rest of this week. So we will see you again very soon. Thanks everyone, and make sure you grab a copy of Resilience and Reinvention. You can order it online at wcwpress.com. Bye for now.